Hey, Yellow Belly. What are you doing here? I thought I told you not to show your face round these parts no more. This town's not big enough for the two of us. Well then I guess we got ourselves a showdown, don't we? Yeah! Rah! Hee! Tell Mama I'm sorry. Welcome to the Coffee House, where we talk board games, miniatures, and painting, not necessarily in that order. If any of those things appeal to you and you're not already subscribed, please consider hitting that subscription button down below. Give this video a like. In today's video, we're going to be taking a pocket-sized adventure into the Old West with Dust Duels from Y Games. I was sent an advanced prototype copy to check it out and give you my thoughts. So let's dive in and see what's inside this little pocket-sized adventure. So inside the box, you're going to find a deck of cards, a little baggie, and 6 little red chits to represent your health in the game. To set up a basic game, you're going to give each player a heart tracker and a red heart token. You're going to place the token on number 10. Then you're going to take the gallows card and 1 more random action card per player, shuffle them, and then deal 1 card to each player. Mix the remaining card unseen with the other action cards to make a draw deck. Then deal each player 2 more random action cards. There's also an alternate setup that you can go ahead and implement into the game as well. The game comes with 6 unique characters. They all have different starting healths and different starting cards rather than the randomly drawn ones. The game is ready to begin, starting with the player closest to the age of 35, which, fun fact, is the average age a gunslinger died. So, on your turn, you can either play an attack card, which has a silver border around it. You may play a play card, which has a red border around it. You may exchange a card, aka discard a card and draw a new one. Or, if you've died, you may play Premature Burial. More on that in a minute. After your action, you draw back up to your hand of 3 cards. So let's dive into some of these cards and what they do. Attack cards. These cards hurt other players. Follow the instructions on the card, and place the card in the discard pile. Play a play card. These cards don't do damage directly, but tend to help you in some way. Whether it's restoring health, maybe looking at another player's hand, maybe exchanging cards, things of that nature. Exchange a card. If you can't play a card or you don't want to, maybe you got a strategy going on, you're planning a big move, something like that, you can go ahead and discard a card and draw a new one. And that's pretty much the gist of it. You're gonna go round after round, turn after turn, you're gonna be playing cards, you're gonna be shooting your fellow gunslingers, you're gonna be eating pecan pie and biscuits and gravy to restore your health. You're going to go through a range of emotions. You're going to be playing defense cards when other players attack you, like there's a mirror card, so if another player shoots you for 4, you can go ahead and play a mirror card, which is going to bounce that shot either directly back at that player or another player at the table. So you have some choices here. Typically too, with these attack cards, they give you the option on who you want to attack. So it's not just a player to your left, it's not just a player to your right. There are certain cards that will even allow you to attack multiple players, which is really helpful. Now, death is an interesting thing in this game. So at the beginning of setup, if you remember, you shuffle that gallows card into a handful of cards based on player count. This card is kind of the main mechanic of the game. So what this card does is, if you end up with the gallows card in your hand, what this allows you to do is, upon being killed, you can go ahead and reveal that gallows card, and the player that killed you also dies unless they have a card like Mirror, for example, to bounce that effect right back at you. Now, this card is interesting because it prevents the game from going on for too long. This is a game that is designed to be played quickly. I mean, we're talking like 10-15 minutes, so you can kind of play it again and again and again. And this Gallows card really helps in that aspect to keep things moving, keep things fast, keep things fresh. Another special card to make note of, especially when it comes to death, is Premature Burial. And basically what this allows you to do is, once you are killed, you can go ahead on your next turn and play the Premature Burial card, and what this does is this brings you back to life with 3 health to kind of put you back into the game. Now, this is a handy card to have not only for gameplay purposes of just the regular fighting, but also you can play this card in defense of the Gallows, so that when you kill someone that has that Gallows card and they throw that card at you, if you've got a Premature Burial card, you're not out of the game, you're still good to go. So these are handy cards. You get Premature Burial, you want to make sure you hang on to that. And that's the overview of Dust Duels. Alright, so now that you know how to play Dust Duels, let's kind of go into how I feel about the game, my experience with the game, so you can kind of make a good call whether or not it's a good fit for you. First and foremost, we have to get it out of the way. This is not a deep game. This is designed, as I stated earlier, to play in about 10-15 minutes. It plays 2 to 6 players. Obviously, with this style of game, more akin to a party style game, more players is ideal for this game. Now, what do I like and what can I see others liking about this game? Well, again, I gotta go back to the 10-minute playtime. I don't like playing party games, card games that take forever. I want it to be snappy. You know, Cards Against Humanity, Exploding Kittens, some of those games can really tend to drag when you've got hyper-aggressive players, and with that Gallows card in particular in this game, it's not going to happen, so I really, really appreciate that. It's worth mentioning too, I am not a big fan of Western theme. It's never done it for me personally, but with a lot of the guys in my Discord and the other people that I've played with and they've talked about it, they really dig the Western theme. It's executed really well in the artwork, thematically. So if you like the Western theme, I know it can be kind of hard to come by in the board game space or card game space. So the Western theme definitely shines here. So if that's something you're into, this is a great option for you. Another thing that I really like is that you have options. You know, you have defense cards that you can play, and you can kind of strategize when you want to play them, how you want to play them. Even with attacking, you have a couple choices to make. This is not the deepest game in the world. It's not meant to be. But it still presents you with choices. You can still think about a couple things. You can kind of plan out a strategy, which is, again, for this style of game, doesn't happen too often. So, you know, that's something that I really do appreciate. Now, in terms of negatives or things that I could maybe see people not liking, I don't really have much to report in this aspect. Knowing what this game is and what you're getting into, if you're cool with that, you're going to have a good time. There's no egregious problems, egregious errors, nothing like that. It plays well, it plays smooth. Now, I will say this is a prototype copy. Rules are not finalized. Cards are not finalized. I did come across a card, the bucket in particular, where the rules, as explained, didn't quite make sense. Like, we didn't quite understand the purpose of the bucket, or, you know, what the issue was with it. Now, speaking with Andy, who designed the game, I do understand now that this is a card that's going to clog up your hand, but with the way that it's worded, it doesn't really come across as an obstacle. So I've addressed that with Andy, and he's going to go ahead and clarify and address that in the game as well. Another thing to address, you know, as a kind of a party game, it's not amazing at 2 players. You know, you're gonna have a good time with it, but it's not gonna blow your mind. It's not something you're gonna go back to at 2 players. But there is potential for it to really shine at 2 players. There's some cards that really don't work. There's some cards that need to be tweaked, and one of those is definitely the Gallows card. And again, I've spoken to Andy about this. The Gallows card in a 2-player game can really be a bit of a dud. Because if one of you ends up with that Gallows card, and you likely will, if the player that kills you doesn't have, by luck of the draw, a mirror or a Premature Burial, the game just ends in a draw. And that is really, really unsatisfying. So, you know, I talked to Andy about it. I gave him a couple ideas of maybe a different card in place of the Gallows for 2-player mode, as well as a list of cards to not include in a 2-player game. He gave me a few cards that don't work in 2-player. We found a couple more that should probably be removed in 2-player. So that's just something to be mindful of as well. You know, this is, you know, the 4 to 6 player count is your sweet spot in this game. But if you buy these kinds of games, these party games, that's probably what you're going to be playing at anyway. But I just wanted to address it so that there's no surprises and you are aware. And again, these are minor gripes, and I've talked with Andy about them, and they are going to be addressed. So overall, what do I think? Well, as I stated, I don't like Western themes. I'm not a fan of party games. None of this is my jam. Having said that, I like it. It's fun. You know, I've played it at 2-player. We played it a bunch of times at 4-player. It's fun. Every time that we played this game, I was never sitting there going, oh my god, I can't wait for this to end. I wasn't miserable. I was having a good time. You know, it's kind of silly, chaotic fun, where you're really just going back and forth being snarky with one another. So if you've got a good group, if you like, you know, friendly or even unfriendly competition, you're going to have a good time. This is the type of game that I can see on the shelf at Target with Exploding Kittens, with Unstable Unicorns, with Cards Against Humanity, and I can see it doing really, really well, and it should. So I definitely do recommend, especially if you're into the party games, you like the Western theme, Dust Duels should absolutely be added to your collection because it's small, it's portable, anybody can play it, and it's quick. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this week's video. Thanks for checking it out. Be sure to check out the campaign for Dust Duels coming to crowdfunding very, very soon. Let me know your thoughts down below. Do you dig the Western theme? Have you heard about this one? Is this game going to be on your radar? Do you like these kinds of games? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Again, sincerely, appreciate you guys watching the videos. Drop me a like down below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll catch you on the next one. See ya!